Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. Today I have a DIY Christmas Z-fold card that is a bit surprising. And best of all, you don't need any specialty dies to make this fun fold card. Now you're going to want to make sure you grab that free project sheet that is going to be linked down in the video description for you below when tonight's premiere is all over. That's going to lead you over to the pictures, the cutting dimensions, and the supplies for not just the card I'm going to demonstrate for you, but other cards that I have to share with you. And one of them has a fun little twist with it. I'm going to work in a couple techniques tonight to teach you some new things as well. Now, we love to interact with you live during the chat, so go ahead and log into your YouTube account, which uses your Gmail address. Gina and I are here with you in the live chat, and we would love to interact with you. And if you don't know who Gina is, her name is in blue, Gina Curcio Hawley. She is my daughter. She works with me here at Lisa's Stamp Studio, and she's an avid stamper. And we are both here to interact with you and would love to answer your questions live. I'd like to give a big shout out to our YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for supporting Lisa's Stamp Studio. You'll recognize their name in the chat with a crown next to their name. They get custom badges and emojis and exclusive merchandise opportunities. If you're interested in joining us and supporting Lisa's Stamp Studio, go ahead and click that join button here underneath the video so I can give you more details. All right, we're ready. Let's get started. This Z-fold card is going to be comprised of two different pieces of cardstock. This is what I'm calling the base inside your project sheet. This is a regular 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock. I'm going to do two simple score lines on this. I'm going to work with the long edge here across the top. I'm using my Stampin' Up paper trimmer. It includes both the scoring and the cutting blades, and I love that because they navigate up and down here on the trimmer and they stay right in place. Now you're going to see that there's a ledge here at the top. There's also one here at the bottom so you can make sure your cardstock is nice and straight. The first score line is going to be at 2 3/4 inches. We're going to go ahead and line it up and we're going to score. The second one is going to be at 5 1/2 inches and we are going to score. And that is it for the first piece. This next piece is designated as the mini card in your project sheet. This is 3 1/2 by 9 and we are going to score it in half at 4 1/2 inches. So make sure I got that lined up here across the ledge and we'll use that light blade for scoring. Now that we have our two pieces, let's work on the folding. We're going to fold this first line that's here in the center. We're going to fold it up. That's what we call a valley fold. I've got my bone folder here, and what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that your ends are nice and even, and we're going to go over that with the bone folder for a nice crisp crease. That other score line here is going to come down. This is where the Z-fold comes into play, and you'll go ahead and you'll see that here. But the other piece is going to work with it. All you're going to do is fold this in half and then just square up your sides and then go over it with your bone folder. These two pieces are going to become interactive. We're going to come back to this piece in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and let's work on the base pieces here first so that we can add the other pieces on top. Here in the background, I chose something that would be a light color, and that will make more sense for you in just a minute. And I chose basic white cardstock, and I'm using the Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder. You'll see that it's a nice, thick, dynamic folder, which leaves a beautiful, deep impression in your cardstock. Now, I did do that here ahead of time. Honestly, whether you want the bulk of the snowflakes coming down from the top or at the bottom is a personal preference. There's no right or wrong way. I have used this folder quite a bit this holiday season, and I absolutely love it because it's timeless. I'm going to use the bulk of the snowflakes here at the top of the cardstock, which will make more sense as we assemble. I'm going to bring in the precision glue press for this and flip this over, and we're going to go ahead and add a nice thin bead of liquid glue all the way around. I absolutely love this tool because I have arthritic hands and squeezing a glue bottle is very challenging for me. You're going to find that glue press linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I'm just going to go ahead and tack that in place. You never want to deboss the cardstock. So go ahead and flip that over and then just give it a good press around the outside edges. And now we have this layer in place. These two sections here were screaming decorations for me, and this is where I love to use designer series papers. These papers are from the package called Reindeer Days, and you can see that they are double-sided. One side is themed, the other side is generic, so you can use it for lots of other projects. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add these to those sections using the precision glue press. Now I use multi-purpose liquid glue in my press. I love it because it's strong and it dries quickly. I also love it that it has that stand. You're going to notice there's a pink stopper in the bottom of the stand here. Do you see it? And that's going to create a virtual airtight seal between the needle tip and the stopper itself, which means you can leave that unplugged all day long and you are not going to have to worry about it clogging. I absolutely love this product. This now is going to go like this when we are all finished. This layer in itself is done. We're going to come back to it to work on the mechanism for this special Z-fold. You'll remember that we have the mini card here. From that same exact package of designer series paper, I chose the tree pattern. We're going to go ahead and add that now to the front of this mini card using the liquid glue. Again, I'm looking for that nice small border that goes all the way around to create that pretty layer. Here comes the fun part. Now we're going to work on some decorating and the special closure for this card. I chose this adorable moose image, and it comes from the stamp set called Christmas Friends. Very whimsical, but super fun. And I love the images in here because they require very little coloring, and I love that they can add such fun character to your cards. I've got my moose here, and I'm going to use the black Memento ink pad. This is an indication that I'm going to probably be using alcohol-based markers. This is my black go-to ink pad for all things, and I absolutely love it because it's water-based, which means if I'm going to use alcohol-based markers, I don't have to worry about any bleeding. I've gone ahead and I've stamped him on some scrap basic white cardstock, and while I have one that's already colored for you, I want to talk you through a couple things because I get quite a few questions about shading. I'm going to be using the Crumb Cake Stampin' Blends markers, and you can tell from the cap that there's a light one and a dark one that comes in the color combination. I'm going to go ahead and I like to separate them on my work surface, and I'm going to show you why. Because I'm also going to bring in the Pecan Pie Stampin' Blends markers. You're going to notice how closely related in color that the caps are. And if you're like me and you've had trouble delineating which one is which, let me introduce you to these amazing Stampin' Blends labels. Gina and I designed these. They are available for you on my website under Shop Digital Downloads, and you'll be able to find them for all the current Stampin' Up color palettes as well as the retired colors as well. You're simply going to punch them out and add them with a glue dot. It's really, really amazing. By separating the lights and darks, I don't have to worry about them getting mixed up on my work surface. I am going to start with the crumb cake first. I prefer to go light to dark, but you can do whatever you choose. I'm going to work on just one antler so that you get an idea of how I did the shading. The secret is to allow it to process. While it's processing, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on some color shading here. And let's go ahead and let's work on this larger area so that you can see how this is done. I'm going to work here on the back end of our adorable little moose, and I'm just going to stroke on some colors. You can use circular motions if you prefer, or just long strokes. Remember that you want to preserve the tip of your alcohol markers, so make sure that you're not scribbling with them. Now that I know that this color has had time to process, I'm going to come in with the dark shade, and I'm going to add it where all those little sketch lines are that the artist put inside the stamp set. I'm going to lay it down kind of heavily. I'm going to work now with the dark pecan pie, and again, using those little cheat marks in the stamp set, I'm going to add some color to this area. And this here, I'm going to bring down just a little bit further, and here behind the scarf as well. If you're not sure about shading, use the detailed lines in the stamp as cheat marks. And if those are not there, pick one side of your image to be darker than the other. So you're imagining the light source coming from one direction. Now that those have had time to process, the secret comes in blending. So I'm going to come back to the light, and I'm literally going to pull the dark into the light. And you don't have to even pull all the way. As a matter of fact, if you don't, you're going to notice a difference in the highlighting. So much darker here and much lighter at the top. Coming back to the pecan pie, this now is where you're going to pull or circular motion the dark into the light. And you're going to notice that I'm not going to go over all the areas. I'm going to work where the dark is, and I'm going to leave a highlighted area there. As this begins to process, it will become more of its normal tone. Then I went ahead and I used my scissors to cut the image out. There is not a die for the stamp set. Don't worry. It is super easy. You do not have to go into all the little nooks and crannies if you choose not to. While this in itself was adorable, I decided it needed a little bit more realism to this. So I went ahead and I pulled out a retired oval die. And I've die cut this here, but you might notice the texture on this. I used a large embossing folder called So Swirly. It's not a 3D folder, but I absolutely love the fact that it gives a marbleized look, which I thought looked really, really fun on top of this piece of cardstock. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper underneath to protect my work surface. And I'm going to bring in the Wink of Stella. The Wink of Stella is a shimmer pen, which means you can eliminate the mess of glitter if you don't like it. The one reason I really love it is because it's quick and it dries quickly. I always give it a good shake before I use it, and I simply pull off the cap. Now, if you haven't used it for a while, you're going to want to prime it. And here is a little trick for you. Take one of your clear blocks. You're going to see that there's words push here and here. So that's where you're actually going to squeeze it. Now this one's been sitting for a little bit, so I'm just going to give this a gentle squeeze, and you're going to notice that shimmer paint is going to come down through the bristles. Now I know that might be difficult to see on camera, but you'll see it here. I literally use this to paint with because I'm not going to waste it. And we are going to cover this entire little area. Now whether you decide to do the shimmer paint first, before the embossing, or after is entirely up to you. It really doesn't matter. The great thing about this is I notice that the shimmer sticks more predominantly to the raised areas, which is really what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go ahead and add this now to the entire oval. Now you might be wondering if you need to squeeze it every single time, and the answer is no. Store it vertically versus horizontally, and you're going to notice that if you've used it relatively recently, that the bristles will still say moist with shimmer on it, so you can go ahead and just paint it on. You're going to need to give this just a few minutes for that to dry. Now that we have our two pieces, we're going to come back to the mini card and we're going to add these pieces here. I decided that I wanted to use dimensionals so that this was elevated. So I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to grab my dimensionals here and I'm going to work to make sure that these are well balanced. I know my card is going to go through the mail meter at the post office, and I'm very cognizant to make sure that when my card is received and opened by the person I'm sending it to, that it's not going to come out all lopsided. I remove those paper backings with the Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to go ahead and add this, about center, maybe just a little less than center, right here on the front of my card. And just to give you an idea of the Wink of Stella, can you see the shimmer now on top of that paper? I wanted this to be reminiscent of an ice rink. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my mousse. But you're going to notice that part of the mousse is going to fall off here onto the back of the mini card and part of it here on top of the rink. So we're going to need to compensate for that elevation difference. So we're going to add liquid glue from this area down and dimensionals from this area up. So I'm going to turn him upside down here. Again, I'm going to be very, very careful to make sure that this is well balanced for mailing. Now these areas here are smaller and I know that these dimensionals will not fit. So I'm going to come in with my mini dimensionals, which I absolutely love. They are already pre-cut little pieces. They're going to fit in those little tiny spots. And if you're like me and need them even smaller, go ahead and use your scissors while they're right here on top of the paper and cut them in half. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the paper backing using the piercing tool on my Take Your Pick tool. I love this tool. It's like my third hand. Now that we have the backings removed, we're going to come in with the glue press and we're going to add a nice thin layer of liquid glue down here towards the bottom. We are going to center this now so that my dimensionals are going to fall outside of the oval and my mousse will fall on top of the rink. Here on the inside of the mini card, obviously it's going to need a place to write and sign. Now I did do that ahead of time just to save a little bit of time, and I used the greeting here, wishing you all things that warm your heart and lift your spirits, and I stamped some trees. Now those little trees are very whimsical to match that stamp set, and they are also from Christmas Friends. And I stamped it in the Granny Apple Green to coordinate with the Designer Series paper. I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue now to the back side. Holding that nice and flat, I'm going to go ahead and center this here inside. That greeting comes from a stamp set called Peaceful Season. I've gotten quite a bit of use out of this. This has a coordinating die set to it that will script out the word Christmas. That is absolutely beautiful, and it has double layers already included in the die set. You may want to consider the bundle, which will save you 10% to get both the dies and the stamp set. But if you prefer just the stamps, they are available separately. I like this one because there's lots of individual pieces so that you can custom build your own sentiments. Now that we have our little card finished, we are going to come back here to the Z-fold card base. Now you might think it's going to go on the top, but it's not. We are going to open this so that this is nice and flat. And I'm going to turn this upside down. And this time I'm switching over to adhesive. I'm going to be using the Stampin' Seal Plus because it's extremely strong. And I'm using that simply because this is embossed and bumpy. While the glue will work perfectly fine, I like this for these really fancy fun folds because they're going to be open and closed quite a bit. And I want to make sure I have bonding the second I put it down without having to wait for it to dry. You are going to center the back half of this little card right here within the white layer of your cardstock. So just look visually, left, right, top, and bottom. And then when you're happy, give that a push. I'm going to open up the card and I'm going to give that a good press where I've placed the adhesive. This flap here at the bottom now is going to fold. Here's your Z fold, and it's going to come up, and this is going to come down. While this in itself is super cute, a closure is what makes this card really special. And let me show you what we're going to do. I took a piece of real red cardstock and I die cut the smaller of the countryside corners dies here. And I took a greeting from that exact same stamp set and I heat embossed it in white. Now I have lots of embossing videos here on YouTube, and if you're looking for one, Embossing 101 or Basic Embossing are really great here on my YouTube channel for you to learn how. But I wanted to focus today specifically on the fun fold. This, I thought, as cute as it was with the simple greeting, was maybe a little bit plain. So we're going to add a little bit of oomph to this. I'm going to bring back in my scratch paper here. I'm reaching for my Versamark ink. And you remember that exact same tree image? Well, watch what we're going to do. We're going to ink this up, and we're going to work primarily on those little pine needles around the outside edges. I'm looking to kind of stay away from the top of the tree where it's kind of pointy and working more on the needles themselves. And you'll see how I'm manipulating the stamp to try to get as much of those images on there. And then I'm going to add another one here. Now, the one thing about Versamark ink is you may know it specifically for heat embossing, which is how I got the words on here. But the other thing about Versamark is it will create a tone-on-tone color to colored cardstock. Now, it's a little bit wet right now. It'll dry in just a few minutes, and I'm not sure the camera's going to pick that up, but you might see it much better in the project sheet. But you have very subtle images around that greeting, which gives us a little extra texture. Coming back here to the card, making sure that the flap is tucked under the Z fold. I want the card to be nice and flat for this next step. You're then going to decide where the greeting is going to fall. It is important the card is flat, otherwise this will not work, nor will it fit in an envelope. Once I have an idea of where that's going to go, I can see that anything I'm going to put is going to have to go below halfway of the greeting. So let's flip this over. I'm going to bring in my dimensionals once again. I'm using their shape to my advantage. So I'm going to make sure that straight edge is right along here at the straight edge of my cardstock. And I'm going to work all the way across, making sure this is well balanced. Give those a good push, and then what we're going to do is we're going to remove those paper backings once again with that Take Your Pick tool. With my fingers here, so I know I have a placement, and I'm going to tack that down. Before I go too far, I am going to make sure that there's nothing sticky here holding the card in place, and I know it's not. So this kind of pops out like a matchbook, and then it lifts, and this folds out. So this becomes also an easel for the card so that it's freestanding, and I absolutely love that about this fun fold. Now I want to do one more thing to this to kind of ump it up a little bit, is I'm going to bring in these beautiful pecan pie and clear ribbon adhesive backed dots. And I don't think on camera it's going to pick this up, but there's like ribbon underneath these clear gems that makes them so striking. So on this card, you can see that I put my image a lot higher than on the one in the project sheet. So we're going to use these to work in some of that dead space. You want to make sure that when you go and put your gems on, that this is going to slide underneath here for the closure so you've got an idea for positioning. So I'm going to do one here. I'm going to take a smaller one and put it here, and I'll take one more smaller one and I'm going to pull that all the way up here. I love a triangle formation because it's really appealing to the eye. Super easy and fun card, and no specialty dies needed to create this fun fold. Now let me share with you the other cards that I created for you. This next one focuses on the Yuletide Village stamp set. I love it because, again, nostalgic and it's never going to go out of style. This does not have dies. The stamps are independent and I love that they're photopolymer. But this is the card that I created for you. This is the exact same type of Christmas Z-fold from the one we made. You're going to notice that I heat embossed silver on silver foil here for the snow globe that I put the church in. Now the snow globe came from Snowy Wonder dies. Obviously there's a stamp set that goes with this as well. But look through your artillery and use dies from other things to pair with different stamp sets. Because this stamp set did not have dies, I thought it was going to fit perfectly inside the snow globe, and it sure did. And unlike this one, I didn't use the Wink of Stella. I literally used glitter. Now, if you're looking for a really good ultra fine glitter, I have it linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I used the precision glue press to put the glue on where I wanted it. It's in the snow, it's in the trees, on the rooftops, and inside the windowsills. I colored it with the Stampin' Blends markers, added some loose snowflake embellishments. The background here, I took a snowflake from another stamp set. Again, another important tip for you. Use what you have. Look through the stamps that you've got and pull in smaller images to work in with a card that you're designing. The designer series paper is called Iconic Celebration, and once again, you'll see that it's freestanding. The circle is the stopper this time with my snowflake. So when you open this, this is going to expand and it's going to open up the card here to the inside. So pretty, yet so simple and elegant. Now let me show you one more. This is a brand new online exclusive that came out last month, and it's called Classic Wedding. Now, while I looked at it and thought, okay, this would be great for a wedding and engagement and all those other fun celebratory occasions, how can I use this for a Christmas Z-fold card? And it came up with a great idea. Make sure you snag the coordinating dies for this one when you see this card. I used an embossing folder in the background that's called Merriest Trees. Now you can't really see it too much, so I used my blending brush to add some old olive ink. Now if you're wondering where that Christmas tree is coming from, it comes from Merriest Trees. Do you see this large tree here? It makes varying sizes with the dies. So you can have a large tree, a medium tree, a small tree, and a tiny tree by simply die cutting the sections of the image here, which is what I've done here. I literally die cut the tree, made a small slit with my paper trimmer, slipped it over the card, cut away a little bit of excess to make it look a little bit more realistic. Use the banner from the Classic Wedding stamp set and dies, but use the words Good Tiding, which came from Sophisticated Sled. Now let me show you something. This is the greeting from Sophisticated Sled that says Good Tidings. Once again, you're going to look through your inventory. Photopolymer is flexible. So guess what I did? I literally put it on my block. I turned it upside down and I was like, okay, so this needs to kind of be twisted. So I'm going to move this end up and this end up. And when I thought it looked twisted just right, I went ahead and I inked it up. I'm going to give you a tip. This didn't work so well for me this way, so I stamped the greeting first, and then I came back to the banner, and I stamped the banner around it. That worked a lot better for me, gave me better placement. It's another great way for you to use your photopolymer stamps to help build that custom card. Coming back here, I did use some gold foil for the bumper. The great part about this stamp set is that it has fill images. Do you see how the solid fills this? This for the window, these for the tires. So there was no coloring needed on this stamp set at all. I can see using this for kids who are going off to college with luggage. I can use it for hauling birthdays and of course balloons and for lots of other occasions as well. Here at the bottom, I pulled a die cut image out from Unbound Love Dies. This greenery is actually part of the Classic Wedding stamp set, and I added those cherry cobbler little berries there. Some simple gold little pieces here to help look like it's tied on. This is going to come up and this is going to expand, and you're going to see the inside here, but you're going to notice a pocket here at the top. The Pocket Thoughts dies makes that so simple. I use that second or middle die here to create the pocket. It die cuts and scores for the pocket if you don't want to make your own. And it's the perfect size for a gift card. So now your Christmas card is not only a greeting, but includes a gift card as well. And it's also a great gift card holder. Lots of amazing choices and different designs to choose from. And as always, I would love to know your favorites. Do me a favor, pop down right now in the comments and tell me which one of these you favor. Will you make a pocket or a simple Z-fold Christmas card? Your feedback is always important to me as I'm designing new cards for you. So thank you for chiming in. I come back and I read every single comment. Don't forget to snag that free project sheet that's right down in the video description, available for you now. It's going to provide all the pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies for all 3 of these cards. And if you love exclusive ideas, I've got more for you with Stamp Studio memberships. This is a monthly membership program with 2 levels. Level 1 is just $5 a month, and every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, right to your inbox, you're going to get a tutorial from me that is exclusive. I do not share these ideas or tutorials anywhere else. They're going to include the typical pictures, cutting dimensions, supplies, and step-by-step instructions. The best part is that the pictures and the tutorials are not watermarked. So if you teach classes or share with others, you are welcome to freely do so. But if you're looking for even more, there is level 2 at $10 a month. That includes everything in level 1, plus a monthly fun fold card. That fun fold card tutorial gives you lots of pictures and of course step-by-step instructions so you can follow along easily. Level 2 also includes a discount code for my PDF tutorial library, which is very vast. And of course, every single person in level 2 is entered into a monthly product prize giveaway. You're going to be able to find all the information over on my website at lisastampstudio.com. Click on memberships in the red menu bar. While you're over on my website, do me a favor, scroll to the bottom and fill out that little section there. That's going to keep you in the know of everything that's happening here at Lisa Stamp Studio. Specials and promotions, and of course, advance notice and more inspiration. It is completely free and no frills, and we hope that you'll join us. If you have enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up here on YouTube, which is a like. It helps me immensely. And if this is your first time visiting, hit that subscribe button, the bell icon, and then the word all. YouTube will then send you notifications when I share something new so that you do not miss out. Thank you all for being here with me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.